Hello, and thank you for watching this February 2019 weather outlook for Farm Credit Illinois. My name is Eric Snodgrass, and I'm Senior Atmospheric Scientist for Nutrient Ag Solutions. Well, we did it, Illinois. I want you to see this. This is incredible. These are our temperatures at 7 a.m. on January 31st. We saw some places to our north that were below -40, but we set right here in the northern part of the state a new all-time state record at -38 degrees Fahrenheit. That was in Mount Carroll. We saw 0-degree temperatures get all the way down far as south as Mount Vernon, and it was a very, very cold end to the month. But look at this. Since that happened, from basically Thursday, the 31st, to Super Bowl Sunday, we saw across much of the state anywhere between a 40 and 80-degree increase in temperatures. That is a massive flip-flop in the pattern, the biggest that I think I've ever seen, and I've been studying the weather for well over 20 years. So this winter is taking us on a ride here. Now take a look at this. When we take a look at January, overall for our state, much of it was near average, maybe a little bit cooler than average in the north and northwestern part, but when we look across the state, we really just see this. Only a few times did we really get out of the average area right here. We were below average here back in the early part of December, and we spent a lot of time throughout December and early January above average. It was really only this time period that we got some record-setting cold weather, and that was there at the very end. And then look at the rebound. You know, they have a saying in Illinois, right? If you're bored with the weather, just wait. It'll change tomorrow, and that's certainly what we're seeing here. Now, here's the other thing. We are well above average on precipitation for quite some time, and certainly over the last 60 days or so. We are across the state around 2 inches above average, and we can clearly see here that there is no drought anywhere to speak of in the Corn Belt right now, with really the worst drought in the Four Corners states and in Oregon. Now, the pattern is about to change, and that is something that we've really got to watch. So let's do this quickly here, right? We are going to be watching here the flow of the atmosphere. We're talking about troughs and ridges, and we need to be seeing how they're going to move and reposition themselves. And I want you to pay attention to this. Watch for ridging in the Gulf of Alaska, troughing out west, and ridging over the southeast. That is a flow pattern I think we're going to be seeing quite a bit as we progress through the month of February. Look at this. See the troughs reloading there out west? The ridge that keeps trying to build there in the southeast? See the trough reloading? If that continues to happen, I'll tell you something. We're in for it in our state, because this tends to develop a lot of what we call Lee's cyclogenesis. These are storm systems that come off the Rocky Mountains and they race on off to the north and east. Now, depending on which of those 3 tracks we get, I'll tell you, if it takes the northerly track, number 1 up here, we're going to get rain. Takes this middle track, it's going to be freezing rain, sleet, snow. Takes that southerly track, we're going to get dumped on for snow. So we're going to have to watch all 3 of those things. But we're also going to be seeing quite a ride in our temperatures here. As the trough establishes itself out west, look at this. We're going to be spending much of the month of February right on the boundary between where it'll be warm to our south and east and where it'll be much, much, much colder than average to the north and west. So get ready for a highly volatile month, both with weather systems and with temperatures as we move forward. I think this is going to be our biggest problem. You know, we've had all this fast frost and thaw cycle, and the ice is going to be flying everywhere because it's Illinois. That's just what we get, right? Just watch this one again. This guy decided not to clean off the roof of his car. Here comes a chunk of ice speeding toward this car and just destroys the windshield. Get ready, Illinois. You're going to see a lot of this throughout the month of February. So I told you, what we got there is that split flow out west, doing this and that. And what does that do? That kicks off a lot of low pressure systems here, and we are looking at wetter than average conditions all the way through the 19th of February throughout much of the mid-Mississippi and Ohio River Valley. So that is the name of the game. Meanwhile, California, by the way, getting hammered here with a lot of rain and snow. We might see up to 10 feet of snow in the Sierra Nevadas. So this is our pattern as we progress through the month of February. We certainly don't need the excess rain right now. Just to show you how much we're looking at over the next 10 days, so this gets us out to about Valentine's Day. Really going to be a north-south gradient in this precipitation across the state, maybe as much as 2 to 2.5 additional inches of rainfall there for the southern half of the state. So I'm telling you, this pattern is volatile and it is wet. Now let's look longer term as we wrap this one up. Right now we still see we got this weak, honestly, pretty pathetic El Nino, but not a whole lot going on in terms of discernible patterns in the Pacific Ocean. That El Nino will be transitioning weaker and weaker throughout the spring and summer, taking it out as a factor for our weather this summer. What we have to watch together is right here. If those waters in this area get cold with time as we progress into May, June, and July, that's a good indicator of heat. I'll put an H there, heat for us. If they stay warm, pretty low probability that we get hot. Now, I know the groundhog just came out and said spring is coming early, okay? Please don't trust this animal. Its track record is 38% accuracy over 138 years. So please don't listen to it. And remember, this is the animal we're talking about here. These two dogs cornered one. And are you ready? Yeah, there it is. Okay, let's turn off that volume there. Yeah, so this is it. I mean, who cares what this animal says? Please, let's just ignore it. Let's talk about the real thing here. We're going to get a brand new model update that's going to be coming out here with the long-range European model, and it's going to change what we're seeing here for February. The old run was picking up on a cool pattern here. I think we should expand this, keeping maybe the possibility of warmer than average conditions down in the southeast. March looks to carry on that cool bias, a slight cool bias. But look, we do not see the same thing that we saw a year ago setting up for April. Remember, last year we were coming off of a weak La Nina. Last year the Central Pacific Ocean was a much different configuration, and the polar vortex broke off and sat right here. I'll write PV. It sat right there over the Pacific Northwest. This year, that's not happening, which means we are seeing actually a much more normal April. And I got to be honest, in addition to that, I'm actually expecting a lot of early season severe weather across much of the Central Plains and the Corn Belt. We can also see it here in terms of precipitation, that as we get into that time period, wetter than average conditions here for April, which is what we're going to be watching, that strong subtropical jet. But May, I think, is the more important month for us. Even though we want to get planted in April, it's May precipitation that's key. And what we're picking up right now is a slight dry bias here from our long-range European model. Again, one of our best models here, still seeing that strong subtropical jet, but if it gets a little bit drier than average in May, that's actually fantastic for us finishing up the planting of our crop. Now again, this is a longer range outlook. This model's not going to nail this perfectly, but this is the model that a lot of people are going to be paying attention to in the near term. Finally, look over here before we transition into July. Look over here what we're talking about for temperatures. We see near average to above average temperatures. This could mean another pretty rapid accumulation of those grain to green units, which is excellent for the progress of our crop. Now, let's get a little speculative and get all the way out to July. Right now, the best model in the world is not picking up on precipitation stresses. The best model in the world is also not picking up on heat stress. And we're going to watch the trend in this model very carefully over the coming weeks and months to see if it is pushing us toward, hotter and drier conditions or wet and great conditions. But I'll tell you something, I have no reason to go against the European model right now. My analog years that I picked out certainly are favorable for a decent 2019, and we just don't have the things we need in the upstream flow, like in the Pacific, to really shut us down. All of this can change. We'll watch it carefully for you and make sure that we keep you up to date on what those changes mean. As we finish up, let me take you quickly to South America. Now, planting of that first crop soybeans went in very, very fast here and very early in parts of Mato Grosso. And throughout much of the beginning of that, they had adequate rain. For the last 45 days of that crop, as it matured, filled out those pods, and is now being harvested very quickly, it was dry. Yields have been disappointing in this area, as they have also been down here in Paraná. It's been much, much wetter down here in parts of Argentina and southern Brazil. In fact, some extreme flooding down there in some locations. Well, all of that is about to change with the forecast map, which is in the back. The Mount-Julian oscillation is going over to phases 8, 1, and 2, and that means wetter conditions in Brazil and drier conditions down in Argentina. And there's been a lot of volatility and a lot of uncertainty, but remember, over the last decade, Brazil has added 36 million acres of soybeans. That's 3 Illinois soybean crops. So that small dip in yield still means they're probably going to have a top 2 or 3 in terms of production year this year for soybeans. But we'll watch it carefully, see if anything's going to upset that safrinha crop, which is going in quickly right now, especially in Brazil's northern regions here in parts of Mato Grosso. So a lot to take in here, but this is going to kind of get us prepped as we slide on into spring. With that, though, I'm going to wrap this one up. We at Farm Credit Illinois, thank you for your attention. Hope you look forward to our next update coming out soon. Thank you.